make the game what it is, so we think you deserve a better betting experience. Every time you bet with Fanatic Sportsbook, win or lose, you get up to 5% of your wager back in fan cash. Spend it on jerseys, fan gear, bonus bets, and more. And for a limited time, bet and get up to $1,000 in bonus bets over 10 days. Welcome to the most rewarding sportsbook.
This may be a life changer.
The best of the best, it's a pretty damn big deal.
All walks of life are bound to this one game. It's just amazing.
It's special.
It's a different level of excitement. It's a different level of adrenaline.
This is the show.
Surreal. It's wonderful. It's the mecca for tournaments.
Racing fans, welcome to Hawthorne Racecourse for a Saturday afternoon of thoroughbred action. Jim Miller and Emily Gullikson up here in our mezzanine level studio. We're reunited after last weekend. Emily, you did a fine job last weekend. And I'll tell you, it's nice to be back sitting here. Peter Galassi back up in the announcer's booth. So everything how it should be.
Yeah, you did such a good job calling races. It's rare because unless I go downstairs to watch a race or go in the sportsbook area, I don't get to hear it because I'm up here, you know, and everything's like silent except for the constant hum that's in our room. So it was nice. I got to hear it through the headset. You did such an awesome job, especially there was a couple races that were pretty game to the wire, and like I was like getting excited. I'm like, all right, because a lot of times too, watching all the races that I do, taking notes, I always have the volume up because I don't want to be influenced by a call, right? Or I don't want to be kind of just completely objective. So I was like, I'm like, I'm getting into this a little bit more. It was nice, but it's hard work by yourself up here.
It comes to that point where you have no option but to start spitting words out of your mouth. So you hope you get it right. Things turned out pretty good. I had a couple times where I noticed I sensed a pause, just trying to make sure I had the right horse, but the two that I was happy I got right were the two trainers with their first career victories. So Danny Simonovic, Irvin Moreno, those were the two, because that only is going to happen once.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I wanted to make sure I got that right. And Irvin's horse, Temple Fool, kind of split in between horses in that race. So that was one of those where you didn't know if it was going to happen. Even Danny's horse had to battle all the way to the wire.
Yeah, and in that Temple Fool race, now that you mentioned it, there was like that kind of blanket finish where it was like any one of like 5 or 6 horses could have won. So yeah, imagine that is kind of tough to call because you're trying to get ahead of it, but at the same time you're like, I don't want to be too jumpy on this one. It could go either way.
Right, and the biggest thing is just getting that field out of your mind as quick as you can, out of your memory, and getting the next field in. But hey, turned out okay. I enjoyed doing it, but very happy to have Peter Galassi back in the announcer's booth. All right, today we're off the turf course. It started raining at about 10 o'clock, and it's just been, it's not even been a steady rain, kind of on and off, misty, that kind of stuff, and it's a matter of just how long it's going to stick around. But off the turf course, I was actually surprised with as many scratches as we had in the last 2, but I think we're left over 6 in that race. It happens. The other 7 races on the main track, you see the main track's listed as good right now. This track does handle water really well.
Incredibly, and even when it's the days that we've had rain, it seems to still play extremely fair as we're getting a look right now. I mean, these guys are so on it. Getting a look at the track, it plays fair, and we'll always give updates if anything, but I'm surprised how well it takes water and then again just continues to play fair.
Yeah, and as you see, I mean, the track was sealed up. It was sealed up right after training. We don't have any standing water on the track as of right now, so we're going to list it as good. We'll see if we switch it to muddy or not. We're going to let a race kind of go and see how things unfold and just see what Mother Nature shows. Depending on how much rain we get, maybe I'll just walk the turf after races today and kind of see and get a gauge for tomorrow because we have a pretty good card tomorrow as well. But let's jump into today's action. 28 minutes to post, so you're going to see we're going a little bit earlier because there's a stakes race from Churchill Downs that comes up just after what would have been our normal 2:50 post time. So you don't want to run races on top of other racetracks. So good maneuvering by our mutual department. We're going to jump just a little bit ahead of them today and get things going and stay ahead then for the remainder of the day because you always want to be first.
Absolutely.
So we don't want to be,
especially us.
Yeah,
like we
want to be first. We want everybody to have to follow up with our racing. So
Exactly.
that's what we're shooting for here as we kick things off in the opener. Illinois made an allowance runners in the first field of 7 lines up. They go 3/4 of a mile in the opener. 50-cent pick 5 wagering starts in the first. You have to start with the 1-5 Miss Mikos. The question is this horse a sure thing? Or do you look somewhere else? I know you gave Come On Lady a little bit of a look on the outside at 8-1. Everything kind of revolves around the heavy favorite, though, to start things out.
Yeah, looking at the early betting board, it looks kind of like a 3-horse race and then 4 long shots in here. But, yeah, right now, Miss Mikos is a horse both you and I liked last out. And you can give a little bit of an excuse. She did stumble at the start and then had to rush up into that duel. Came up a little bit short late. so certainly capable to rebound. Stumbles again from the inside. Who knows? And taking 1 to 5, but yeah, Come On Lady comes out of that same common race. And even going back to the debut, she caught my eye in that debut, and I liked the effort last out. Made a positive physical appearance just 2 weeks ago. Wheels right back. Vance Childers is sending out live runners, and so I'm willing to jump on that bandwagon. I think Miss Mikos is logical, but especially if the board stays the way that it is, I'm gonna stick with my top pick. Come On Lady.
Yeah, it's been Vance Childers runners at prices too that have been running in, because a lot of these horses like Miss Mikos take a lot of action. This one was 2 to 5 in that last out. Was defeated by another Hugh Robertson runner, a first-time starter who was definitely well intended in there in Dream Nap.
Caught our eye when we were looking at the 2. I remember us saying first time, it's the first-time starter for sure. Just looked so much better. So that is something what we'll be able to pay attention to and look for a change in appearance on Miss Mikos, because certainly getting a lot of early attention. Yeah,
1 to 5 on the board on that one in the opener. Second race on the card goes 5.5 furlongs. Big scratch here. You take out the 2 Mad Dragon. I say it's a big scratch because you lose the pace of the race, and that does change things a little bit here. Charlie Lightning, the horse I laid as the heavy favorite with Mad Dragon out. This one could be very similar to Miss Mikos right now. Probably going to be very short price. Hugo Rodriguez has been good, and I like the fact that he doesn't ask too much off the claim. We're right back at the level of the claim today.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I'm willing to go a little bit more creative, trying to get a price in here, because I think Charlie Lightning is a very strong favorite in race 2. Even with the scratch, maybe that made it a little bit more interesting, but even still, Charlie Lightning would have enough early speed. It could change the dynamic a little bit, make it a little bit more of a rider's race, maybe moves up a horse like Future Vision if they are kind of bunching up early, but I think the race does go through Charlie Lightning.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it does too. Iron Man Richie's an intriguing horse. This one ran some good races last year, but you're coming off a lengthy layoff. Maybe Soviet Standard could be a little bit of a factor as well. That's a horse that I think moves up with Mad Dragon scratching, because you lose some of the pace. Maybe that one tries to scamper away early on, but yeah, Charlie Lightning is going to be a very short price favorite there in the second. Third race on the card goes 1 mile and 70 yards, $25,000 claimers, non-winners of 2 races lifetime. It's a field of 7 to line up in this spot. We talked about Irvin Moreno at Temple Fool getting his first victory. We thought that this was a horse that possibly could have been last time out, and T-Law ran a really good race in that spot, beating less than a length.
Yeah, and comes back when we talk about the pace in race 2. I think that pace will make the race in race 3 as well. It's probably have a more contentious pace. Looking at the plot, it's that Sun contention with that high speed rating. So that's showing that there's not just horses that want to be on or near the lead, but can also be pretty quick on or near the lead. So set up a horse from off the pace like T-Law. So should get a good trip in here, come back. And same thing with number 7, Bourbon Life, who turned into better than length effort, making a wide close back on April 7th. And I think he's another one like T-Law. Those 2 could get the right trip in here.
Yeah, and you have jocks jumping around a little bit because Olaf Hernandez, I mean, that's a tough choice. You have Bourbon Life and you have Sharp Stick. Well, Sharp Stick's a horse you broke the maiden on and then rode in the allowance in that last out, so he stays there. Lexus Centeno picks up this one. Israel Hernandez has been aboard T-Law, so see how things unfold there. But again, yeah, pace is going to make the race, and I do think there is enough pace as well to run at in that spot. I agree with you there in race number 3. Fourth race on the card, Illinois bred allowance runners. They go 3/4 of a mile in this spot. You look at this field here, again, it's going to be a short price favorite in Miss River Rat, but again, it kind of comes down to question of what the pace is going to be. How the plot kind of look for you here, because it seemed to me like a couple of the outside horses maybe show some speed, but I didn't see a ton of pace in the race.
Yeah, and I think you kind of describe it. Sometimes, I mean, pace is such a binary, right? There's so many different variables, and so this is one where it has a Sun contention, which is exactly what you described. There's some horses that want to be on or near the lead, but then it's at low speed rating.
Right.
So it's horses that maybe are going to be on or near the lead, but not necessarily fast. And I think even still, Miss River Rat, sometimes that can actually help a closer, right? Because if they don't go too fast early, keeps her close. She has a big late kick, and speed figure-wise stands out in this field. If there's ever a time to get that belated win, I think this is the spot, and the race goes through Miss River Rat. Could be another short price.
Yeah, we talked about a horse earlier in the meet that was in a similar situation in Style. And Style was that horse who was like that closing type of racehorse, but there was no pace, was going to get much more into the race and did, and ended up getting up in time. And it was a little more of a grindy type of trip, just kind of trying to get there, and the horse eventually got there at the wire. Miss River Rat will be the favorite in here. Should be tough. I gave a little bit of a look to Boyce's Bandita. The Vandenberg barn's been going good. I think their only way to win it is try to scamper away and clear from the outside. But when you're on the outside, you get to kind of dictate how things are going to go based upon what's going on to your inside. So see what Julio Felix chooses to do. But I think it's a beneficial post in this spot.
Yeah, and that's where I gave Chloe Attack kind of that same type of look, and I thought would be a little bit overlooked of those two. But then again, those two from the outside can end up dueling, and then that helps Miss River Rat as well. So yeah.
and again, we'll see how the track plays. I mean, the track, even when there's moisture, it usually tends to play rather evenly. So I do expect that's going to be the case today, but that's a pretty intriguing race there for race number 4. Race 5 today, allowance runners go 3/4 of a mile on the spot. It's a field of 7 to line up in here. The question is what you do with a horse like Dorothy Crowfoot, who's coming in off a little bit of a layoff, but has shown that this horse has a lot of ability. It's really good connections and good workouts into this spot. Sam Marita loves it here at Hawthorne. Beehive's been good over the track. Michelle Boyce has been good. This is it's a pretty good race, but I think it works kind of around those 3 horses, and then maybe even like a secret operation turning back in distance too.
Yeah, I think you started off with the right question, the right type of approach of what do you do with Dorothy Crowfoot.
Right.
Like for me personally, she's a single. Like I'm willing to single her in this spot because it's not a horse like, oh, maybe she'll run second or third, or I'm going to back her up. It's like she's either going to win or she's not. And so you kind of make that decision, right? If she wins, that can move on all your tickets without having to go super deep. And if you want to try to beat her, then that's where you're going to try to, spread out a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, I think if she's ready to come off the bench, it's tough because speed figure wise, she ran the number that would be competitive on debut.
Yeah.
But those are tough numbers because they're 4.5 furlongs, and just kind of historically looking at the data, they're so inconsistent with what those numbers are. You need a better sample size, and since she doesn't really have much of a sample size, it's like, okay, if she runs back to debut, that's as fast as Sam Marita, some of the other more established older types, and could have plenty of upside because that was a 2-year-old number.
Right.
So yeah, I think she has all the upside. I think they're going to give her this spot picked out for a return to regain some confidence. And if she doesn't win, I mean, that will kill my tickets, and Sam Marita is probably your next most likely, or the most likely, depending on how you look at it.
Well, and that's the thing, is Sam Marita's victory at Keeneland in the slop was the thing that just kind of moved this one up, and over a wet track, Sam Marita's really good. So that's the thing that does move that horse up. And the other thing about Dorothy Crowfoot that you really don't know is, okay, the 3 races, they were all as a 2-year-old, all without Lasix. Some horses react a little bit better than others once they add Lasix, but the works are really good. I mean, it's 46-1 from the gate on May 12th. You come back going 5/8 from the pole, 59-2. She's fast. We know she's fast.
Yeah, and David Cohen is riding well. And those in those 2 races that closed out the year, the Prairie Meadows race that ran, there were some stakes runners in there. There were some stakes runners in the Keeneland race. She was wide in both. So yeah, I think this is the spot picked out.
Yeah, quality company.
And then I did use Secret Operation underneath. I think she's sneaky.
Yeah, and Secret Operation is a horse that definitely could be a factor at a good price because the horse will be overlooked in there. All right, race number 6 today, $5,000 claimers, non-2, they go 1.70 miles. Here's our scratch of Jocelyn, the 2 in this spot. Leaves you a field of 7 to line up. It's a race where I didn't know what to do. I wanted to try to defeat the favorite. I thought there was enough pace to run in. I thought there was enough on the outside. I went to the quick wheeling back Ancient Man. I saw you were giving a little bit of a look to Stolich as well, too, and another one that'll be a price.
Yeah, I like both those 2 in here, honestly. I mean, for the same reason. I think there's enough pace to set up the run. Stolich, I thought, was going to improve on the stretch out and distance. When they stretched out around 2 turns earlier this year, just didn't have the right trip, had to check early, and just was unable to recover. And they wheeled right back in a sprint. The horse improved. Now they're going to stretch back out again. I just don't think we've seen the best from him. Could get the right trip, and this would be the time, right? This is the type of horse that is going to pop at a big price. So I'm going to use him. And then Ancient Man is just that new face. He hasn't been at this level. He's been holding his form, just not quite on the level of competition. So the drop looks to come in the right time and place. And I agree. I'm willing to take on the favorites in here, and I'd even use my old friend Armavier, who ran a huge race last out, and made the case for him that day that he was a horse last year that just needed racing, was improving with the experience, and he's shown that this year. So I no reason to think he can't take another step forward.
Well, and especially when you get a horse like Plainer Peanut, who's been facing so much better, that's taken that class drop. There's just so many questions that surround it. It's the other Zawitz runner that's in here, similar ownership for both. So it makes things just a little bit interesting because you know that horse will take action. They get the break in the weights with Rachel Slavinsky in the saddle as well. Plainer or Peanut could run out of the screen, but do it at a short price. I'm with you. I'm willing to take a shot and try to pull off a little bit of an upset there in race number 6. All right, race number 7 today. I thought this was just a very tough race. $5,000 claimers. They go 3/4 of a mile on the spot. And the thing that I love is you wrote about a whole lot of horses in this race, and none of them I don't think were the horse I put on top. I picked Lady Atlantic on top in this spot.
Yeah.
It's a field of 12, but there's really not a ton of pace in the race. It's really kind of a weird race. It's a lot of horses that could maybe be bunched up front, but nobody's going to go really fast.
Yeah, it has that weird fire contention, but lower speed rate. And I really think that this race, Avasarla should win this race. I mean, it's a second off. Last out, we were like, where's Centeno? Why isn't Centeno?
Right.
Centeno always rides. Now Centeno rides, gets back aboard, has that race under her belt. Didn't really take much money last out. So this looks like the right spot. I think just as the favorite, I think the race goes through her. But then when you get this full field, if it's not her, then it really opens it up. And Lady Atlantic, I don't mind. I mean, we've talked about her the last couple of races. I probably want to see a little bit more last out. Both you and I liked her in that spot. A lot of them coming out of that May 11th common race. Essential Bella was part of that show finish. And I even think number 1, Stack Shack, is super sneaky in here. I mean, Orlando Mujica aboard, that just kind of catches your eye like, what's he doing on this horse? And you go back and you're like, okay, this horse has back numbers, maybe just is cycling back around. Those front wraps come off. You know, that could just be another positive. Yeah, I mean, I think once you get through, if it's not Avasarla, you can make a case for anybody, but I think as the favorite, I think she makes sense.
And much earlier in Stack Shack's career, she was much more speed.
Yeah.
I mean, she was get away and go. I think that's their option from the inside. They might just have to go. So I'll be curious to see at a price what we get from Stack Shack. Lady Atlantic's going to be a price. Felix back aboard, I like that. But that's a really intriguing race, and if Avasarala takes a lot of action, then there's going to be a lot of value in there. So see what we get in race number 7. All right, in the finale, this race definitely hurt by some scratches in here. Take out the 2, the 3, 5, 7, 9, 12, 13, 14. Now, a couple of those also eligibles were re-entered, so weren't able to run in this spot. It leaves you with a field of 6 in here. Emmanuel Giles is aboard the 6. That is a rogue element. Danville stays in, which is good. Red Hornet stays in, which is good. But everybody that stays in this race all can be competitive. Probably going to bunch up maybe a little bit more price-wise, but I do think Danville will go favorite in this spot.
Yeah, Danville made sense either way, just main track or on the turf. He's just coming in with some of the stronger numbers, so still could be the horse to beat in here. My selection didn't change too much. I think Danville is logical, and outside of him, I'm using Red Hornet for the fact that you mentioned early that Vandenberg's been sending out really live runners that have just been firing, and Red Hornets had the excuse to back, and then weather conditions last out, so we haven't seen the best from him this year, and this is going to be the time and place. And then the sneaky horse for me in here is number 1, Storm's Reflection, another horse that just has form on either surface, could have gone either way, and it's buried enough that he's going to just sneak away, going to be a price.
Yeah, and
even in a compact field,
it could still be 10-1.
Absolutely,
yeah, could be. And you mentioned the Vandenberg barn. 16 of the first 24 found the board. So everybody coming out of that barn just seems to be running well. And we even talked about it early on. It kind of seemed like the first couple weeks they were getting a start too. And then everything's been firing. But you definitely want to watch that barn.
And they were taking a bunch of money too. Remember, I think this one being one of the horses that just opened with a ton of early money and kind of had some subtle trips, like had an excuse and Red Hornet's excuse in opening week, and but they're definitely live right now.
And we talked about that adjustment because they were down in Florida at Gulfstream Park throughout the course of the winter, a little bit of time to adjust to get back, but everybody's been running so good from the barn now, so it wouldn't surprise me. I'll be curious to see what kind of action that horse takes there in the finale. All right, that's how we see the 8 races today. Let's flip back to the opener. Take a look for the field for the first as the horses are walking over for race number 1. Looking over there at Churchill Downs, it looks like they're getting a little bit. Is that Churchill? It looks like it.
Yeah.
They're getting a little bit of rain over there now. That just started falling too.
It's kind of been like us, right? It started around like right before race 5, I want to say, and then it was like the light drizzle, and then it stopped. I think it's like us now. It's just kind of. Going to be steady.
Yeah, on and off there. Track is listed as good right now. Again, we'll see kind of how race 1 plays out to see if we do have to adjust that track condition or not. But it's been sealed, taking water for some time now. So we're going to leave it as good for race number 1. But we open things up in the opener with a win, play, show, exacta, trifecta, superfecta, double pick 3, pick 5, place pick 8. Again, 12% takeout on win, play, show wagers on every race here at Hawthorne. We are starting a little bit earlier because as you look at the boards for those watching the simulcast signal, Churchill's stake is about 6 minutes after us, so we want to get off before them and not race on top of them. So in the opener, Illinois made an allowance runners in the first. They go 3/4 of a mile. It's a field of 7 to line up. Emily, we got to start with the 1, Miss Mikos. This is the horse that currently sits as your 1 to 5 favorite. probably deserving of the favoritism. It's very short in this field. Just the question is how we're going to kind of play, I guess, around that heavy favoritism.
Yeah, 1 to 5 is pretty short. It could, I mean, we're still at 12 minutes.
Right.
Things could just change a little bit because especially here, late money coming in. And I'm noticing the front wraps first out, which normally would bother me, but when you have the off track, you're like, okay, I can give a pass, but overall physical appearance looks better. We can go back to the debut last year, which was against Open Company, broke slow, was green, took kickback, and then did improve at the fairgrounds, but that was also at a time where if you were forward, you were good. Yeah. And so it was a good spot to be on the return. Now the return here on May 18th, not so great. Stumbled and bumped around at the break and still ran a good second. So I think it's a very logical horse in here. 1 to 5 is short, but can definitely win.
And the break's going to be the key. 2 of the 3 starts, there was trouble at the gate. That's the one concern when you're a heavy favorite and you're on the inside and you're lightly raced. So if you want to make up a reason to try to beat this one, that may be the way to do it. I think Miss Mikos probably does win, but it's not a gimme by any means, and that yet you're looking at 1 to 5 on the board right now in the opener. Now the 7 horses, Come On Lady. Come On Lady from the barn of trainer Vance Childers. Orlando Mojica gets the call today. This was a horse you got at 13 to 1 in that last out. It's a pretty good effort finishing third. You're getting 8 to 1 right now, so still not a bad price on a horse that has run some legitimately good races.
Come On Lady can run. The debut at Mountaineer last year, it was kind of one of those, you look at the running line, you're just kind of like, whatever, it's just a first start and then layoff that followed. But if you go back and watch, she rushed up, had trouble at the start, had trouble in running, and just kept showing run from start to finish. And I gave her an improve because I was like, this horse, when you see a horse first out that battles through some level of adversity, you're like, okay, there's some racehorse in there. Yeah. Because they're, a lot of first-time starters, they get into trouble and they're like, I'm out of here. I don't want any part of it. Needed some time off afterwards, but validated that debut. Made a positive physical appearance. Looks good again today. Had that wide trip, so should benefit from that start. And, I think being outside is good. And also from our physicality is a type that has surface versatility, so the off-track shouldn't be an issue. And we talk about Vance Childers and sending out some live runners as of late, winning here. Had a win at Horseshoe Indianapolis earlier in this week with Angel Express. So I think the barn's on a forward trend, and given the odds discrepancy, this is kind of a no-brainer. Yeah, and the horse looked okay out there in the walking ring. Definitely should be a factor in this spot. Now, as we were watching horses walk by, the 5 horse caught my eye. So let's take a look at the 5 right there. This horse that looks really good. That's Lion's Law. This one's been kind of bouncing around the paddock since getting saddled. Has shown speed in those last couple of starts, and that's the one thing. If somebody goes with Miss Mikos, it's probably going to be Lion's Law. And this one did go last out, was actually the pace setter in there, but just got pressed so hard that kind of backed out of it. Maybe today's a day where the horse can possibly go and even try to clear a little bit, and that could be the case of just try to play a game of catch me if you can at a huge price. Yeah, part of that group that had trouble at the start on May 18th and then rushed out of there, and like you mentioned, was part of that early pace and then backed up. So yeah, I think that is definitely the benefit on their toes. Absolutely. So a lot of energy at 31 to 1 could be your pace setter in here. Just from a class standpoint, that concerned me from the visuals from the other 2, but sometimes when you have a pace advantage, your long odds, you can overlook some things, and that could be the case here. Yeah, and she does look good right now, currently at 31 to 1. Now the 6 horse in here is Irish Spark. You see Irish Spark right there. This one 9 to 2 on the board. Olaf Hernandez aboard for trainer Jimmy DeVito. This one finished 4th in this similar race in that last out, and that was that first transition over from Oaklawn Park over here to Hawthorne. Did debut over a sealed muddy track in that first start out. Irish Spark comes in here today. They put the blinkers on for the last out. They take the blinkers off today. So I think they're still kind of just experimenting with this horse that's still just kind of learning a little bit too. Yeah, Irish Spark has a big look in here as well. When we talked about that debut at Oaklawn Park, it was closing weekend, so probably just giving the race and then came over here and State Bred Company, seemed well met. Part of that group that broke slow, had trouble at the start, and then made a massive move. I mean, really eye-catching. It's one of those that it is tough to see in the running line alone, but if you go back and watch the replay, moved outside wide, then moved inside late. So like you said, trying to figure this one out, given her experience, but coming out of that race, you have to give her a look right back. Yeah, clear second choice right now, currently sitting at 9 to 2. Now the 4 Joyzella is 42 to 1. Here's the thing, Joyzella has almost gotten there numerous times. Now, the start 2 back wasn't a bad race. That was a little bit different field from what you're seeing, though, today. I think the competition level is a little bit stronger here. But again, if pace goes out there, dukes it out, and comes back a little bit, a horse like Joyzella rates and kind of picks off horses late. Yeah, given the longer odds, it's probably what she's going to take in order to get that top spot. So you'd want that price compensation. You can make the case from there. But again, makes another positive physical appearance. As you mentioned, has plenty of the races that would stack up as well as any in here. Just has had many of them and hasn't gotten it done. But on her best day, she's not far out of it. And if you're willing to take a little bit of stab, you're certainly getting price compensation.
Right, and then let's touch on the 2 Lally for sure, as this is one that is making the second start out for trainer Frank Kirby. Debuted in that last race again with a lot of these horses, and in that debut, a little bit eventful, was hung a little bit wide in that spot, just kind of chased the whole way around. I think with the move to the inside draw, it's going to be beneficial. Maybe just learned a little bit out of that race and can improve a little bit more here at 39-1.
Yeah, it definitely could present some upside and more experience. From the standpoint, as a first-time starter, I wanted to see a little bit more. If I just compare to Come On Lady, watching her debut and saying, okay, I see the move forward in the next start. This one, I didn't quite see it from the debut, so I still need to see a little bit more from Lally.
Yeah, and then lastly, let's touch on the 3. That's I Did the Math. The last one in this field here for us. John Redenauer Jr., the trainer, Rachel Slavinsky, the rider. Race 2 back actually wasn't too bad. The question is, can the horse kind of get back to that race and improve a little bit off that start?
Yeah, as you mentioned, just might have been a little bit softer that day. And another horse that's had some gait issues can often just kind of lose their footing out of the gate. Has done that on numerous occasions, but at the same time has picked up horses, made a good close, going back to the second start back at FanDuel. So has a good leg kick. Maybe the off track is to a benefit. Haven't had that yet, but ran fine on the turf, ran fine on the synthetic. I think his one is just going to come running late.
All right, we'll see how things unfold for the opener. Heavy favorite to Miss Mikos in the first as they head out onto the track. Good luck.
Coming on the track for the Saturday opener, they'll go 6 furlongs on a track currently listed as good. Field of 7, there are no changes. Win, play, show, exacted, trifecta, superfecta. This race starts the rolling daily doubles, rolling pick 3s, and the 50-cent pick 5. 5 minutes till post, parading here they are. Number 1, Miss Mikos with David Cohen riding. Number 2 is Lally with Frank Reyes. 3, I Did the Math, will be handled by Rachel Slavinsky. 4, Joyzella, Rashawn Blanche riding. Here's 5, Lion's Law with Luis Colon aboard. 6 is Irish Spark, Ola Fernandez, up. And number 7, Come On Lady, Orlando Mojica will bring her to the gate, and they'll all be there in about 4 minutes. Kick off the Saturday program. Once again, we're off the turf. Dirt track listed as good. Racing fans, a little time remains for you to wager on today's first race here at Hawthorne, first of 8 on the Saturday program. We do thank you for joining us wherever it may be across the betting network. Here at Hawthorne today, under rainy skies, we're off the turf. Dirt track currently listed as good. All the races will be on the dirt track, and the dirt track is currently listed as good. 8 races today. We have 1 carryover pool. The third race, pick 6 carryover, $3,165. The high 5 on the last race today has been canceled. Closest starting time for the first race, which features rolling doubles, rolling pick 3s, a 50-cent pick 5, and the $1 place pick 8. Close to starting time. Better hurry here at Hawthorne. Racing fans are at the starting gate for today's first race here at Hawthorne. Horses are entering the starting gate. I did the math. Moving in, last 2 to go in will be Joy Zella and Come On Lady. Waiting now for Come On Lady. She's in. They're all in the gate. They're off. Towards the inside, Lolly going for the lead, and she sprints clear a length and a half now by 2. Miss Mikos down along the rail. Lion's Law between horses up on the outside. Come On Lady 4th. Joy Zella 5th, and 6th Irish Spark. The early trailer, I did the math. A little more than a half mile to go in this Saturday opener. And it's Lolly the leader by a length and a half. And around the turn they go. It's Lolly showing the way. On the outside, Miss Mikos moving a closer 2nd. And then to the outside, Come On Lady 3rd. Losing a bit of ground, Lion's Law 4th. And then up along the rail, Joy Zella trying to come on. And then to the outside, as they reach the top of the stretch, Irish Spark. Around the turn, they're in the stretch. Lolly on the inside, Miss Mikos on the outside. Head and head, nose and nose for the lead. Come On Ladies, 3 lengths back 3rd. Less than 3/16 to go. And now on the outside, Miss Mikos takes the lead. Lolly fighting back along the inside. Far back to Come On Lady. Miss Mikos, Lolly still battling gamely along the rail. Miss Mikos to win it. Lolly was 2nd. Come On Lady 3rd. Joy Zella came on to be 4th. In today's first race, 1 Miss Mikos finished first, 2 Lolly was second, 7 Come On Lady third, 4 Joyzella fourth. 1274 is posted. It's unofficial. 111.50 the running time on a track listed as good. Returning the unofficial winner, 1 Miss Mikos. Miss Mikos is owned by Home Record Racing Limited Liability Corporation of Ron and Ricky Rashinsky. Hugh Robertson, the winning trainer. David Cohen, the winning rider. Miss Mikos, an Illinois foaled 3-year-old filly by Enticed out of the Performing Magic mare Sarah Accomplished. Miss Mikos was bred in Illinois by Dennis Crooks and George Bates. Still unofficial.